You're listening to AI Prism from Seoul Economic Daily.
It's Thursday, May 14th. I'd like to share some thoughts about Front Page Daily. Imagine an economic engine that, hasn't stopped humming for 42 years. And now, imagine someone is about to just pull the plug on the world's AI and server hardware. Today, we're taking a deep dive into Seoul Economic Daily's reporting to look at the 4 critical pressure points testing the limits of Korean industry right now. We'll be exploring tech, trade, domestic debt, and real estate to see how these traditional models are, holding up under modern stress. Okay, let's unpack this, starting with that 42-year engine. On May 21st, over 50,000 workers at Samsung Electronics are set to strike.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is just the sheer historic scale of this. I mean, they haven't seen a production halting strike since 1984.
Wait, 1984? That's wild.
Right, and the reason it's such an anomaly really comes down to the structure of the cabal, which are, Korea's massive family-controlled conglomerates. Historically, these cabals have kept an absolute iron grip on labor relations.
So a general strike at the flagship company, the country's biggest cabal, means those old unwritten rules of labor management are totally breaking down.
Exactly, and the risk here is massive. We are looking at a potential disruption of 30 trillion won, which is about 21 billion US dollars.
Oh, wow, $21 billion. But if the semiconductor supply chain just freezes, wouldn't the government step in? Do they even have the authority to force a private workforce back to the assembly line?
They actually do, yeah. The government can invoke emergency labor adjustment powers to compel production to resume. They basically argue that a semiconductor halt is, a direct threat to national economic security.
Okay, so with a domestic industrial base facing that kind of unprecedented turbulence, it makes sense that Korea is aggressively trying to lock down international stability.
Right. Which brings us to the next frontier, the shipbuilding push.
Yeah, President Lee Jae-myung was recently in Ulsan, and he framed Korea's shipbuilding industry around this MASG framework, right? Make American shipbuilding great again.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's a huge strategic alignment. But, the diplomatic push goes way deeper than just ships. During that same window, President Lee proposed a bilateral Bank of Korea and U.S. currency swap.
Wait. Let me make sure I get this. The Bank of Korea would be able to borrow U.S. dollars against the Korean won.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It functions as a dollar liquidity safety net.
I understand the concept of a safety net, but how does an international overdraft line actually shield the domestic economy from currency volatility day to day?
Well, it acts as a psychological and mechanical buffer. When global markets know the Bank of Korea has guaranteed access to U.S. dollars, it prevents panic selling of the won.
So it stops the kind of rapid devaluation that would completely crush an import-heavy economy like Korea's.
Right. But there's a really glaring contradiction here when you look at the domestic side.
Yeah, the government acts fast to secure dollar liquidity globally, but then really struggles to bail out its own citizens domestically. Right now, there are 4,000 student borrowers completely stranded outside the New Dawn Fund, which is their public debt relief program.
The contrast is just stark. I mean, the Korea Student Aid Foundation holds about 25 billion won, which is roughly 18 million US dollars in long-term delinquent loans.
And why are they stuck? Is some complex financial math?
No, not at all. These borrowers are stuck because of pure bureaucratic sluggishness. Red tape.
Wait, really? Just red tape?
Yeah. The transfer of these loans into the relief program is stalled because the Ministry of Education has delayed a necessary legal amendment.
So you have this sweeping national framework designed to clear out legacy debt, but a quasi-governmental body just hasn't legally aligned with it yet.
Exactly. They're just stuck in institutional limbo.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. While those 4,000 students are trapped over $18 million, unregulated capital is just flooding into Seoul's housing market. New apartment presales in Noryangjin just broke 80 million won per pyeong.
And for context, a pyeong is roughly 3.3 square meters, so a space about the size of a small room.
Which means we're talking about roughly 57,150 US dollars for a tiny patch of floor.
Yeah, it's an incredible concentration of wealth, especially since Noryangjin isn't even, a prime luxury district like Gangnam.
Then how are prices getting that high outside of Gangnam?
It's being driven by a massive geographic loophole. Korea uses a policy called bunyan gamsangji, which is a housing price ceiling that suppresses new apartment prices.
But let me guess, it only applies to specific high speculation areas.
Right, so developers outside those specific zones just bypass the cap entirely and price things as high as they want.
But who is eagerly paying over 57,000 US dollars for a small patch of floor there? Like,
Yeah.
where is that desperation even coming from?
Well, it's coming from the collapse of jeonse's. That's Korea's unique lease system, where historically renters gave a massive lump sum deposit instead of paying monthly rent.
Oh, right, and landlords would just invest those deposits when interest rates were high.
Exactly. But as economic conditions have shifted, landlords want monthly cash flow. So they are squeezing renters out of the jeonse system, which forces desperate buyers into the purchase market, blindly absorbing these ultra-expensive, unregulated pre-sales.
It really leaves you wondering if all of these legacy structures, the chaebol labor model, the Johns housing system, the patchwork price caps, are all cracking under modern pressure at the exact same time. What is the Korean economic model going to look like a decade from now? Will it just be patched up, or will it have to be rebuilt entirely from scratch?
That is definitely the big question you have to ask yourself looking at these numbers.
That's today's AI Prism, Front Page Daily. This episode was produced with AI assistance based on Seoul Economic Daily reporting and reviewed by a human editor. AI Prism is a 1-IFRA award-winning series. We'll be back tomorrow.
You've been listening to AI Prism from Seoul Economic Daily.